Ooh. Periscope online. Hello, Periscope. Facebook online, YouTube online. All right, we are live, folks. Hey, it's Jack Heald. I am the dad I wish I had. Most of you don't know my story. I started thinking about what it meant to be a dad when I was 12 years old. And the one thing I always wanted to do was be a dad. I got married young. I had children young. 4 children. They're all grown now. They're all very successful adults. They've given me 7 grandchildren and 3 children-in-law. So that whole being a dad thing has been fantastic. It's what I wanted, and I've really enjoyed it. Today I've decided to title today's episode Storm and Silence. And I'm going to draw on a story from the Bible, from the Old Testament. This is not going to be a Bible story, all right, folks? This is just a story from the Bible to make a point. Right now, the news is absolutely saturated with stories about the problems that we're facing right now. And if you're watching this several months from when I'm recording it, you may not realize what era I'm in, what is going on in the world as I record this. And I'm not going to say, because the present troubles are exactly what you have to deal with now. And the wisdom I'm going to share with you right now works whatever happens to be going on in the world. So here's the problem, and then I'm going to tell a story, and then I'm going to give a solution. The problem is this: it's very easy for us to continue to fill our brains with information, with news, with social media, reading, watching, consuming. All right? All of that ultimately boils down to consuming. Consuming isn't merely buying and using stuff. Consuming is also taking in information from outside ourselves. Anything that you take from outside and ingest, whether metaphorically or actually, you're consuming. We do a tremendous amount of ingesting at times of high anxiety. We do a lot of ingesting all the time, but particularly in times of high anxiety. So how do you manage yourself? How do you manage your own peace of mind? How do you manage to find stillness and silence in the midst of the storm? All right, here's our story. In the Bible, there was this hotshot prophet who went by the name Elijah. Today, anytime you run into somebody named Elijah, they are almost certainly, at some point in the distant past, named after somebody who was ultimately named after this prophet. And these prophets in the Old Testament were powerful men of God who went around confronting kings and presidents and prime ministers and telling them that God was not happy with the way they were doing things. Being a prophet was not a high-paying position. It wasn't very well respected. In fact, several hundred years after this story, Jesus came to Jerusalem and said about Jerusalem, "Oh, Jerusalem, you're the city that kills the prophets and then honors them after they've been buried." And that's kind of the nature of being a prophet. People don't. A prophet has no honor when he's alive. If your job is to be a prophet, then don't look for any monuments to be built for you when you're still alive. You will not be respected. Anyway, so Elijah had a big showdown he had a big religious showdown, which was full of drama and fire from heaven, quite frankly. There were these priests of another god, and they were all leading the country in one direction of worship, and Elijah came and said, "You're doing it wrong, and let's have a showdown between my God and your God, And it was one guy, Elijah, with all these other priests representing the other God. And the story is that Elijah's God proved to be the real God, and the other priest's God proved to be a phony. And it was big, dramatic, amazing, wonderful thing if you're on the side of Elijah's God, and a not so dramatic, wonderful thing if you're not. But the point was, this was kind of the ultimate showdown in Elijah's life. And once he had won this religious showdown, he kind of went, okay, what now? And he went off to the desert, climbed a mountain, crawled into a cave, and just sat there. And the story goes that there was a tremendous storm that came up outside of the cave that Elijah was in. And he went out and he stood on the side of the cliff in the mouth of the cave and watched this storm with thunder and lightning and wind and hail and rain. And what the Bible says is the Lord was not in the storm. And then after all the drama, all the activity and noise and excitement and drama that Elijah had left, he comes to this cave and there's more activity and noise and excitement and drama. But the word was that the Lord was not in the storm. And then the storm died away. And in the stillness and the quiet, God spoke to Elijah and basically told Elijah what he needed to do next. And this thing that he needed to do next was the last big job of his life. And he went off and he did it. He did what his next big job was. And the message here, the story that I want us to understand is the importance of finding those quiet, silent spaces in your life. In order to know what you need to do next, you have to get away from the drama and the noise and the storm and the people and the sound and the lightning and the thunder and the rain and the hail and the wind. You've got to find a quiet place. And one of the ways that you get yourself to a quiet place is to cease consumption. Stop consuming. Stop consuming news. Stop consuming social media. Stop consuming anything into your mind, into your brain. Get silence, stillness, quietness. In fact, the very best place you can get to is boredom. Find some place where you can be bored out of your skull and then sit in that boredom. Let yourself be bored. Modern life is designed specifically, it seems, to keep us away from boredom. And boredom is our friend. Boredom is your friend, because when you're bored, that means there is silence. That means there is no consumption mentally. By the way, don't ruin your boredom by eating, by literally just snacking. Go ahead and allow your stomach, your digestive system to be bored as well, okay? So, the problem, consumption and confusion. The story, Elijah and the storm and the silence that followed, and then the call that he heard about what to do next in his life. The solution for you: find a place of boredom, silence, cease your consumption. And in the silence, you'll get your answer. I'm Jack Heald. I'm the dad I wish I had. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.